of Colonel William Gregory. This interview is being conducted by Erica Carter and David Berry from the Wright State University Veterans Voices Project. This interview is being recorded at the Holiday Inn in Dayton, Ohio at 2800 Presidential Drive. It is 4:35 p.m. on May 4th, 2019. How are you today?
I'm excellent.
Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Where and when were you born?
August 5th, 1920, and at Carthage, Tennessee.
Okay, and you mentioned that's a small city.
Yeah, I was actually born out in the country, and that's the closest city to Carthage.
Okay.
At Carthage, Tennessee.
All right. Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
My father was Sam J. Gregory, and my mother was Creola Nixon Gregory, and he was a farmer.
And she was the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
housewife.
All right. Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I had two sisters, one older, 5 years older, one 5 years younger. I was in the middle.
That's it?
Yes.
Oh, normally farmers had a lot of children.
Well, we were rather poor in those years.
Oh, okay. Did your siblings join the military also?
No.
Just you? Oh, well, they weren't letting women in back then.
They did not, but they were female.
Okay. What did they do?
My youngest sister was a housewife, and the oldest sister, she worked in Detroit, and I'm not sure, I think it was, she worked, I'm not sure what her job was, but she did work in Detroit for many years.
Okay.
Detroit, Michigan.
What did you do before you joined the service?
I went to school, and I had 3 years of college, and I had a kind of difficult time getting into college, but I did make it, and then I joined the service in September 1941.
Was it common for people to go to college back then?
No, it was not usual.
So what made you want to go to college?
Well, I just thought I would have more advantages if I did that.
Okay. So you did 3 years, and then you went into the military. Did you get your degree in 3 years?
No, I did not, because war came on.
Okay.
In 1941 in September is when I got into the service, and war started 3 months later.
Okay.
World War II.
Okay. So were you? Was there a draft? Okay, so you were drafted.
No.
No.
I volunteered
Okay.
for aviation cadet program.
Okay.
I went in as a pilot.
Is that something you always wanted to do, or just luck of the draw?
I wanted to do it at that time, yes, because I was 21 years old at that time, and the war was coming on, and so I wanted to enter that way rather than be drafted.
Get ahead of it.
Yes.
Okay, and then be able to pick your career and all that. And so.
But I did finish my degree later, and I also got a master's degree at George Washington University.
And where is George Washington University?
Washington, D.C.
Well, that makes sense. Okay. So when you decided to get into the military, where where did you start at? Where was?
Okay, actually I was sworn in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. It's right near Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then it was a group, I guess, of 25 of us that went to Uvalde, Texas, for to start pilot training.
Did you have to go through basic training back then, or was
Well, that was primary, and then we had basic and advanced training both. I was at Uvalde for till December the 6th of 1941, and then December the 7th, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor that day, same day. And then I was at Randolph Field and at Moore Field, and I was commissioned April 30th, 1942, as second lieutenant.
So when you originally went in, you were enlisted?
Hmm?
When you originally went in, you were enlisted?
No,
No.
I was never enlisted.
No.
I was a cadet.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about cadet training back then? What, if you remember?
Well, yeah, I remember. It was you had physical training, and you had also studies, and also flying.
What kind of planes?
I started out with a PT-19, Fairchild was the first plane, and after that I flew the BT-9, which is later, and then AT-6, North American AT-6, and so when that's what I was flying then when I graduated from flying school.
Which was your favorite to fly then?
Oh, the AT-6.
Were you nervous?
No.
No? You had all the confidence of a 21-year-old, huh?
Yes.
Okay, just ready to see the world?
Yes.
Okay, that's exciting. How did your parents feel about you?
They were not. I guess my mother thought it was risky.
Risky.
Yeah, and so she was not. She would rather I'd taught school, become a teacher. That would have been her choice, because she was very protective of me.
What was your degree going to be in college?
It was business, and it was a business degree.
What were your hopes in business? What were you going to get into?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't ever really get into business.
You're like, I'm here. I'm gonna keep going. That's everybody in school, right? We start going, and we hope we end up somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, even today, you changed majors 4 or 5 times before you get to where you're going.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so December 7th, you get commissioned. Tell me about your commission.
No, not December 7th.
After that.
Yeah. The
April.
commission. I was commissioned April the 30th, 1942.
Can you tell me about your commission service? Commissioning
Well, when you're commissioned, you become an officer,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was second lieutenant, and from there I went to California to fly faster airplanes, P-38, and that was in 1942, and that's when I began flying faster airplanes.
I would like to know the day on April 30th. What happened that day? Can you tell me about that day?
Yeah, it was a great day. We had a big flyover that day,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had the ceremony where we were commissioned, and we were then became second lieutenants in the Air Corps, Army Air Corps.
Were your parents able to come?
No,
No.
they were not.
All right. Were you communicating with them via letters
Oh,
and
yeah,
stuff?
I was, yes.
Were you able to ever call them on the telephone?
No.
No, not. Okay. Okay. So you get to California, you're flying faster planes. How'd that feel?
Oh, that was good. It was P-38. It was the fastest airplane in the world at that time.
So you're really feeling good.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. What was California like, being from Tennessee?
I liked it very much. I was near San Francisco at Hamilton Field, and San Francisco is a beautiful city, and so I liked it very much out there.
Okay.
And the war had started, and so we were in the war with Japan.
Okay. What do you do? What is your job at this point?
I was a pilot of an airplane.
Right. What are your daily tasks?
Well.
Do they change every day? Are they?
Oh well, yeah. We were. We flew every day just about, and so it was. And we had alerts where we would be ready to take off on short notice if we were about to be attacked. And so it was a tense time with the war going on.
Did the plane that you flew, I'm not familiar with it, was it a fighter plane?
Yes, fighter plane.
Okay. Did you make any close friends then?
Yeah, I had a lot of close friends.
Okay. How long were you at that base?
I was there, let's see, I got there in April, I guess, maybe early May, about early May of 42, and I left in November the same year, 42, and I went to England at that time, and then I was in England until March, and then I went to North Africa, I guess I went to North Africa in May, I guess it was, of 42. No, 43. And then we, and it was, we then were in combat with the Germans beginning in May of 1943.
Okay. You said a lot there. And I've got quite a few questions.
Okay.
But let's go all the way back to California and the fighter plane that you were on. Are there any specific stories, not necessarily bad or good, that you remember that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, well, the P-38 was a fast airplane, and it was a twin-engine airplane, and before that I had been flying single-engine airplanes. And so it was a big step up to fly this fast airplane. And I remember the first 2 or 3 missions quite well, and because I thought the airplane might be too fast for me, but I managed well. And so I really liked the airplane. After about a second flight, I liked the airplane a lot, and it was easy then after that.
Okay. What about those first few missions made them special or so memorable?
Well, it was just it was something I'd never done before, to fly that fast an airplane, because I'd been flying slow airplanes.
Um, were you able to like do a trick or two? You know, spin it around or anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Well, not initially, because you're really not
You're focused.
focused. Yeah, or you're not
You-
good enough, really.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, I could, but not initially.
Okay.
So,
All right. So after California, you said you went to England.
yes,
Why did you go to England?
that's where I was sent. The government sent us there because
Us.
we're at war.
Okay, so you go where you're needed. Us. Was it your unit, your
Yeah,
battalion?
it was my unit, my squadron.
Do you remember your squadron number?
Oh, yeah, it was the 83rd Fighter Squadron.
Can you say that you have you were in the military quite a long time. Can you say you had a favorite unit? We won't tell anyone.
Oh, well, you join a unit and you try to do your best with each unit, and so and later I was transferred to the 49th Fighter Squadron, and I think it was my favorite unit because that's why I'm here at this time. It'd be the 49th Fighter Squadron was the reason I came here today, because it was my favorite unit, I guess you'd say, because we're still, at my age, celebrating the 49th.
Okay, that's pretty fabulous. That's pretty fabulous. Okay, so you go to England with the 83rd.
Yeah,
How long do you stay with the 83rd?
after I went to North Africa, I then got into the 49th Fighter Squadron. And that would have been in May of 43.
Okay, I have a question. Now, I'm an enlisted person, so I just want to get some clarity, and maybe for the civilians that might watch this. When you sign up to be commissioned, you are technically enlisted indefinitely.
Not enlisted.
I'm sorry, commissioned indefinitely.
Yes.
But back then, were you allowed to say, okay, I'm ready to get out at some point during the wartime?
No.
No.
Oh, no, I never thought about that. I wasn't, I had a job to do. I was not thinking about getting out.
I have a lot of respect for you, sir.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You gave me an opportunity to serve, and I appreciate that very much. Okay, so back to you. Okay, so you get transferred to the 49th after your trip to North Africa.
Yeah.
How was Africa?
Oh, it was hot. But the food was bad, and but otherwise, it was what you might expect during the war. We were fighting the Germans, and actually the Germans began. They began the war in 1939 September, and so when we met them, they had been in combat for 4 years, and we were beginners. We had not been in combat at all. And so they had 4 years experience on us, and our losses were high early on. And I think we had like 22 pilots in the squadron that were first and second lieutenants, young aviators, young pilots. And I think there were only 8 of us that survived that year. So we had a lot of losses during that year.
Okay. That's heartbreaking. So after North Africa, where did you go?
Well, after I completed 50 missions, we were required to complete 50 missions, and then I was returned home, or returned to the States. I was still in the service, and I had a break to go home, and I spent about a month, I guess, before I went to another unit.
Had you been home yet on R&R at all?
No.
So it'd been like years since you had been home?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your poor mom. She had to be worried sick about you.
Yeah, I guess she was, yes.
Okay. Did you have a sweetheart?
Oh yeah, I did, but I guess we gone together for since college actually, and but I wasn't thinking about getting married, and so it didn't work out for us.
Okay.
She and I.
Okay. So how was your visit home when you got
Oh, it
home?
was good. Yeah,
It was good?
I was happy to be home.
How had things changed since you had been there?
Well, of course, the war was on, and things changed quite a bit. And my dad he had been a farmer, but he bought a restaurant there in Hartsville, which is the town I lived in at that time. And so things were better for them, and I was pleased about that.
Did you send your checks home at that time?
Yeah, I sent them to the bank, yes.
Okay. How was your reception home from World War II?
Oh, it was excellent.
So people were pleased to see you
Yeah,
and happy?
yeah.
Okay. So after 30 days, you have to report back. Where do you go?
See, I think I went to Florida for after the combat to. It was sort of a bonus thing that they gave us a couple of weeks there in Florida, and then I went back to California to be in a fighter squadron and to train fighter pilots. So I was an instructor.
Well, did you gain any rank at this by now?
Yeah, by then I was a captain.
Okay. That's awesome. You earned it, right?
Yeah, from second lieutenant to captain. It was good.
How was it instructing?
Oh, I liked it. Yeah, it was good. It was a job, and so we had students that we spent time with, flying and also ground training.
Did were there better planes yet? Was it still the same P-83, or were there newer planes out?
Were there what?
Newer planes. Was it a newer plane yet, or were you
Oh
still
no, it was same plane.
same plane? Are there any students that you can recall that just, oh man, that
It's been so long.
No?
It's been too long.
Okay, all right. Sometimes there's that one that just
Yeah.
sticks out. How long were you an instructor?
Till the war was over, and then after that I had a administrative job for a few years. I guess in 1947 I got out of the Air Corps, and I went back to let's see, and I had married in 44. I was married in 1944, and then she and I went back to Shreveport, which was her hometown, and but I was still in the reserves. And in 1951, in I guess August of '51, I was called back to active duty. And at that time, they had bombers there at Barksdale, where I was stationed, which was at Shreveport, Louisiana, and I flew the B-29 for quite a while, and then I went to a school for a year on for navigation and bombardier training, and then after that I was assigned to the 19th Bomb Wing in Florida, and I was flying. Let's see, I was flying B-47s, and I did that for 47 to I guess 51. And then I was selected for a Project Black Knight, which was a high altitude program, and so we were the first people that our squadron was the first that flew above 60,000 feet, and so I was in that program for 4 years, I guess, and yes, about 4 years, and then let's see, 4 years, and then let's see, 47. Yeah, 47. And then I was transferred to U2 program, U2, and so I was in it for 5 years, I guess, and we had '62, I guess it was, that the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it looked like we was going to go to war, but fortunately the Soviets agreed to, and they were missiles in Cuba, and so they agreed to remove the missiles, and so we avoided a war, which was a good thing. Yeah. And 62, yeah. And so then in 65, I went to National War College, and then I was at the Pentagon after that for 5 more years. And 46, and then after the Pentagon at Washington D.C., I went to I came here at AFIT, Air Force Institute of Technology, which is near here, and so I was there 4 years, and I retired in 1975 at the end of my 4 years at AFIT. I retired from the Air Force.
You know, I've got lots and lots of questions, right? Like, you just spanned like 30 years.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of questions our listeners are going to want to know. So we're going to go all the way back to 1944 when you got married.
Yes.
So who's the lucky lady?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I consider myself very lucky. She was, I liked her very much.
Where'd you meet her?
In Shreveport. I first saw her in a picture a friend had, and I said, "Oh, that's a beautiful woman. I would like to meet her," and I did, and we married a year later. This was in '43 when I was in North Africa that I saw the picture, and then we were married in '44, and we went to California, and we had a wonderful life together.
Okay. So after California, you went into the reserves, right?
After
That's
which time are you talking about? What year are you talking about?
you said you got married in '44, and so you did admin in '47, and then you had a break in service, which would have been going into the reserves. So
Yeah.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved back to Shreveport to be
Yeah,
with her
yeah,
family.
and I was called back to active duty in August of '51.
So during your reserve time, you were like doing the 1 weekend a month. You were doing the 1 weekend a month thing.
Yeah. About
Okay,
that,
and so
yeah.
you had
So we would fly then.
All right. Now, what unit were you in then? If you remember.
We were not. Yeah, I guess we were in a reserve unit. We were like the 43rd Reconnaissance Wing or something like that, as best I remember. But we didn't get any pay for that. We just did that because, well, we signed up for it, and it wasn't. You had to be called active duty to get on the payroll.
But you still wanted to fly, right?
Yes.
So that had
And
to
so, yeah, it was, and there were several of us doing that, and so we'd get together on weekends and we would fly, yeah.
Now, when you were doing the admin in like 1947, was that like terrible because you wanted to fly, or was?
No, it was just an administrative job. It wasn't. I wasn't doing. I was doing a little flying, but not much at that time. It was mostly an administrative job.
Were you putting your business school, your business college business to work, your degree stuff?
Well, maybe so. Not particularly, I guess, because it was a little different.
Okay. The military always is a little different.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you went back in August of '51 active, you were called back up because there was another.
Yeah, it was called back because there was another crisis.
Okay.
And so at that time I began flying B-29s.
And how'd you feel about that plane?
I liked it fine.
Okay. Over your whole career, which plane or bomber did you like the most?
B-47.
B-47.
It's
Why?
Beautiful airplane.
Beautiful.
It's a 6-engine bomber, and it's a fine airplane, and they have one here at the
Air Force Museum?
Yeah, at Air Force Museum. Yeah.
I have definitely seen.
Big airplane.
Yes. Okay. So the Black Knight project.
Yeah.
You were the first to fly above 60,000 feet.
Yeah.
Was that
Our group was, yes.
Was that scary?
Oh no, not really. We didn't know much about that level, but we did. We were well briefed on what to do, and of course you had to wear a pressure suit because if you lost pressurization, you couldn't survive without a pressure suit, and so the doctors were very specific that you could only last for a matter of seconds without a pressure suit, and so that's when we had to wear pressure suits.
Were you voluntold to do this, or did you volunteer?
No, no. You mean to wear the pressure suit?
No, to be a part of the Black Knight project.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it was an honor. Yeah, it was advancement really because it was something brand new, and so we all were we were proud to be a part of that. I guess you'd say, yeah.
And where were you stationed at this time?
I was stationed at let's see. I was stationed in Albany, Georgia, and then later at Del Rio, Texas.
What was your favorite base to be stationed at?
I guess Hamilton Field, California.
Okay. You mentioned you had a daughter while we were filling out the paperwork. Do you have any other children?
Yeah, I have 2 daughters.
Okay. When did they come along in all of this?
My oldest daughter was born in 1949, January the 4th, and my Cookie was born in 53, 49, 53, July the 20th, 1953.
How did they feel about being military children? And
They loved it.
They loved it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they ever get to go up in a plane with you?
No.
Oh, okay. Are they in the military at all?
No.
No? All right. Would you allow that?
Well, it would be their decision because they were at that time you're an adult, and so it would be their choice. But they never spoke to me about the desire to do that, so it was not an issue.
Okay. Um, okay. So the U2 program happened after the Black Knight program.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that specifically? Where were you stationed?
I was stationed, I was stationed at in the Mojave Desert at Edwards Air Force Base, and I was at North Base, which was a remote base from Edwards. It was about 10 miles north, and I was in the CIA for that program.
You just gonna drop that on us? I was in the CIA.
Well, I didn't ask for it, but they 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 needed us, I guess, and we probably need them as well. But it was it was somewhat different, but it was not too different from any other organization I would be in. You still doing the military duties, and the CIA needed us, I guess, because they didn't have that capability to fly airplanes, and so that's how it was a marriage between the CIA and the Air Force.
So you reported to duty to them, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
But it was agreeable to the Air Force as well.
what rank did you have?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay. How long were you intermingled with the CIA?
Let's see, 4 years, I believe it was, 4 years. And during that time, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that worked out well. And as a result of that, I was promoted to colonel.
Now, the way it was explained to me, and I'd like some clarification, is you found the missiles?
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
Well, we had cameras that we were using to fly over Cuba, and initially we found that there were a lot of Soviet people in Cuba, and eventually, this was like in January of '62. I think it was. Yeah, January '62, and then during that year, we found Soviet airplanes in Cuba, and later we found the surface-to-air missiles in Cuba, and finally the long-range missiles. But anyhow, once we found the missiles, there was a big decision as to what to do about them. And President Kennedy's staff was about equally divided. About half wanted to knock the missiles out immediately, and the other half of his staff thought we should try diplomacy. And actually, diplomacy won. We avoided a war, or we avoided striking the missiles, which could have put us into a war. And so we avoided that war that might have happened. And eventually, the Soviets agreed to remove their missiles and all of the people they had in Cuba.
Okay. Another great job, you. Okay. And then after that, you moved into the Pentagon.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a year at the National War College, and then I had 5 years at the Pentagon. I was in research and development there, and one of the things we worked on was drones, which are pretty common now. They weren't very common back then, but that was one of the things that we were working on at that time, and and then at the end of that period of 5 years, I was interviewed for a job at the Air Force Institute of Technology, which is right near here, and I accepted the job as Vice Commandant of the Air Force Institute of Technology, and I was there 4 years, and then I retired in '75, August of '75.
Did you enjoy the Pentagon?
No, not really. Not really enjoyed. It was a job, but I don't think most people at the Pentagon really can say enjoying it. It depends on the job you have, and I guess working on the drones, that was. They're so common now. The drones are, and we had a lot of trouble with them, getting them working properly. But I think most people do their job there, and but I doubt if many would say they particularly enjoy being there.
Is it because of the politics there?
No, not the politics. I think most would rather be in an operational outfit, flying airplanes and stuff like that. So I don't think most people at the Pentagon would use the word they enjoy.
Okay.
But it's a job to do, and if you're assigned there, you do the best you can of the job.
All right. Now I have a question. What were you guys using drones for back then?
What did we do?
Yes. What were
We
you?
tried to get them working.
But what was the intent or purpose?
Well, it was a new weapon system, or it was thought to be a brand new weapon system, and it's the same thing that happens with anything you're trying to develop operationally. You go through a lot of work, and the things don't work well. This happens in anything you're trying to make it become operational.
Okay. So you say, okay, I'm going to Wright-Patterson Air Force
Well,
Base?
I went for an interview at Wright-Patterson. I wasn't really excited about going there, but the commandant said he was going to retire pretty soon, and that I'd have I would be in charge of all of the staff, and it sounded like a pretty good job, and so he made it attractive, and I was glad to be there.
So you did enjoy that job?
Yeah, I did.
And
Yeah,
it was a nice way to smooth your way on
yeah,
out?
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was your wife happy to
Yeah, she was.
retire
Yeah. Yes.
and finally get you all to herself?
Well, not so much that. She was very supportive of all that I did, and I appreciate that.
Okay. So what did you do after retirement?
for the first year, I just pretty much relaxed, and then a year later, a friend of mine.
So, what did you do after?
Yeah, for the first year, I just relaxed and traveled some. But a friend of mine, he had a new program on workers' compensation for state employees of Texas, and he offered me a job as assistant director, and so I had that job for 15 years. As the assistant director of workers' compensation, and then I retired again after that. And so then I was retired from the Air Force, and I was retired from the state also, and so then I was fully retired.
Okay. So, how have you kept yourself so healthy?
What?
How have you kept yourself so healthy?
Oh. I've always exercised, and I tried to control my weight, and so that's, I guess, and I forced myself on a low glycemic diet. In other words, I had a little trouble with sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't. I'm recently, my doctor says I don't have to be as careful anymore, but until recently, I was very careful about sweets, and so that has helped. And
All right. You looking so spry over there as a young man, so I had to ask.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should be added to this interview?
I don't think so. I think you were pretty thorough. I think you covered a lot of territory.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear or view this interview?
I would like to suggest to them that whatever job they are assigned, or whatever job they have, is to do their very best, and that way you get promoted, or you do your best, and the results will take care of themselves, I think. But you don't always have a job that you might like, but as long as you have that job, do the best you can in that job, and that'll open up doors, and then eventually you'll do good.
Okay. Sir, you were in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. I would just like to thank you for your time today and for your military service. That concludes our interview with Colonel William Gregory.
Thank you very much.